Alyssa Mercante is in the news once again, being publicly humiliated by the Moon Studios director after she steps into a Twitter conversation and starts outright attacking him. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT, and this is next level unhinged. What Alyssa Mercante goes off on this rant trying to take down this studio director because for whatever reason, which I didn't even get out of this, she was trying to take him down, trying to claim things about him, saying these awful things, calling him awful names, but not really giving a reason as to why he's that awful, except for, it was tough studio conditions. He tried his best, but sometimes there are disagreements at the office. And that doesn't fly with someone like Alyssa. She has to get her way and let everyone know what a raging lunatic she is. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out SmashJT.com for the full and extremely exhaustive article going through every single screenshot, information, all the stuff I could find from this exchange because it was extremely extensive, going through multiple people, conversations, and everything that was taking place there. So if you're interested in getting the long version of what I'm going over in this video, check it out. It's in the link below. In a viral social media exchange, Alyssa Mercante, an activist from Kotaku, known for her misleading takes, lawsuit threats, and contacting my wife trying to get us divorced, among a laundry list of other personal attacks she's made on the entire video game community at large, recently found herself dismantled by no one other than Thomas Mahler, the director behind Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Two excellent games. If you haven't played them, definitely check them out. They're good along the lines of Metroidvanias, but a lot more in-depth. Great graphics, amazing storyline. I enjoyed them immensely. What started out as a heated online interaction quickly evolved into an outright schooling by Mahler, whose calm, composed response stood in stark contrast to Mercante's rude and extremely confrontational approach. But before we even get to Alyssa and the exchange that she had with him, we need to go back to the very beginning of this to give the full picture of exactly what transpired from a user by the name of Quaylog, or Quahog? Anyways, this person apparently claimed to take this high horse standing ground of I am better than everyone because I worked on the games in the game industry at Xbox and Ori, and I know all about these games because I worked on them. Well, turns out she didn't. Before ultimately going private, Quaylog wrote on Twitter, "Hey new folks, I'm Ray. I work in the gaming industry in UX R&D and game production." Straight up, outright lie, by the way, right off the bat, that Alyssa Mercante tries to go bat for and defend, but we'll get to that in a second. This person lies through their teeth multiple times as to what their position is in the game industry, what they do in respect to it, and how they work in it, because everything they said really isn't what they do. I worked on various software and hardware for the Xbox. I now work as an independent media producer and had the privilege of working on the Dota Internationals 2023 and other gaming media projects. This person just straight up lied about their resume because no, they didn't work in the game industry, especially to the level and length that she says she did here. Someone must have alerted Thomas because he replied to her saying, "Hey, I'm the director behind both Ori games, and I don't know who you are and how you are affiliated with Ori." Like, he's calling her out straight up like, you said you worked on these games and you're in the game industry, but I'm the director of the studio, and I've never heard of you before. I worked with Xbox User Research. I was the URA for global publishing during 2018 to 2020. Nice to meet you. Acting like, oh yeah, no, I did work on the game. You might not have noticed, but I actually worked in the research department with Microsoft with this game, so we probably didn't cross paths. What is the user research project that she worked on? Well, according to her own LinkedIn, and shout out to Wizards of OGL for finding this, she worked as a telemarketer for the user research project manager. So, I mean, she made some outbound calls trying to find out research and information about people in the gaming community on what games would be prioritized and what they like. I think? Like, what the hell did you even do? She also tweeted before ultimately deleting because she was caught in yet another lie saying, yep, I worked with Xbox user research slash Deb Henderson. Thomas Mahler wrote back, that could explain it. I didn't want to cause any trouble. I just saw you posting that you worked on Ori and I had no idea who you are. Since you're calling people names online, I thought it was important to inform people that you never actually worked for Moon Studios and that you didn't ever directly engage with anyone at Moon. Always nice to meet people, Ray, even those you disagree with. Which, honestly, you couldn't have said it nicer if you tried. Apparently, this person, Quaylog, had been going off talking about how people at Moon Studios are terrible, and she worked there, and she knew people, and she was saying awful things about them. And Thomas was just trying to clear the air like, we don't know who you are, and you're saying these awful things about us, and then you're also saying you represent us? When you're straight up lying about it? Saying she worked on the game when she was a telemarketer is what Mad Cad Lad wrote on Twitter. I grew apples that eventually became freeze-dried food for the astronauts. I'm a rocket scientist. Pointing out just how utterly ridiculous it was that she said she worked on the game when she had nothing to do with it. Enter Alyssa Mercante with the first thing she says, you're a dickhead. Why would you start out with that? First off, because I feel like his responses were quite measured and they weren't aggressive or rude whatsoever. He was just trying to make sure that people didn't confuse someone talking crap about his company with someone who actually worked at his company. To which Thomas Mahler replied to Alyssa, I don't know who you are. Which is classic because this probably broke Alyssa. She probably thinks everyone knows me. I'm friends with Jeff Keighley. I rub shoulders with everyone in the game industry. I'm a big deal when it comes to Giant Bomb Couch. You guys maybe saw me on that. I got kind of internet famous and now I'm trying to recapture that by attacking people again right now. You don't know me? Alyssa tried to clap back with, maybe you forgot, and clipped what looked to be an article from a past Kotaku post saying, Mahler sometimes argued with the veterans that he brought in, and he changed his mind about the decisions they made and would overrule them. Mahler would also forget about the agreements and then argue for the opposite to happen, and that impacted the work of multiple people, multiple developers said. So, okay. Fair enough. Maybe Mahler made a few mistakes. Maybe he said something and changed his mind. Okay, I don't know Mahler. He could be the nicest guy in the world. He could be the most awful developer in the world. Honestly, based off of Ori and how great the games were, I'm leaning towards he's a good developer. Probably clashes with people once in a while to try to make the best product possible. Because that's kind of what happens in game development. But an activist wouldn't know that. Mahler then took way more time than anybody could ever expect to be cordial with Alyssa, because she hasn't earned this, but as he explained later, he had some free time to address the situation and took full advantage of it. And honestly, this is the biggest and best roast I've seen in a very long time. Hey Alyssa, you're apparently a journalist from Kotaku, so I'm guessing you haven't worked in actual game development. Let me try to explain the thing that you posted about, which I'm guessing was from that hit piece from a few years back. Oh, a hit piece from Kotaku? You don't say. Yes, I'm guilty of what's stated in that image, and that's okay, because this is the normal creative process. Holy crap, that is what we call, Alyssa, listen up and try to take a note here if you have your book out. Accountability. He made some mistakes. He said I could have been better. That's me. What you said there, that happened. And I'm owning it, and I'm trying to be better for it. What an absolute Chad. We brought lots of veterans into Moon because generally great people want to get the opportunity to work on great projects. And that's our goal at Moon. We always set out to create the kind of games we'd love to play ourselves that fill some hole in the market because for some reason these holes haven't been filled yet. And so we're all incredibly passionate about what we do. With great talent comes lots of enthusiasm and passion, which absolutely leads to arguments, because ultimately everyone is working hard on getting their vision into the game. but also everyone at Moon understands that we're working together as a team. So the point of these arguments is then to try to convince each other why this or that solution would be the best thing for the game we're making. And the best solution ought to win. Sounds like a very base developer trying to make the best game possible, and clashing with people is part of the experience in game development. Again, as he roasted her right off the bat, she's never worked in game development. She has no idea what the environment is. I have, by the way. Well, at least in quality assurance. And sure, I've had my disagreements with people on the team there, and we hashed it out. We tried to figure out, oh, that's a bug. Well, it could be a bug, but it's also a feature if we look at it from this specific angle. Yes, there were situations like that, and I even brought some of those directly to the developers, sat with them, and talked about them. These situations happen in game development. But again, Alyssa is an activist. She's not someone that has a care or passion for how a game actually gets made. She cares more about the activist portion of it, that everyone's being treated nicely and holding hands and singing Kumbaya, and then magically a game gets born. Mahler continues, it is often a chaotic process, but it's controlled chaos. And yes, absolutely, every now and then, I have to put my foot down and set the direction. Because I'm the game director, and ultimately, it's my responsibility to ensure that everyone knows where things are headed and that decisions get made. And yes, it also happened that I agreed to a certain decision, playtested some more, and changed the direction after. Again, to me, this is part of the normal process since things get clearer and clearer, the more stuff gets implemented, and the more we play and test. Which again goes back to the development process of a game. It's not just you walk in and magically the game happens. You have to clash. That's part of the problem with the journalism today, is they just expect everyone to be perfectly happy at the company and nobody have any confusion or frustration or challenges to say, hey, what you're doing might not be the best direction. And this toxic positivity environment that they've created is exactly why a lot of games have started to suck, because everyone's afraid to stand up for themselves and say, wait a second, why are we doing this with this game? Gamers aren't actually going to like that. We don't need to virtue signal to them. Let's make it good. To me, all this is just how creative work happens. It can be painful, but my job, like any good director, is to understand what's going on and make sure the right decisions get made, even if some work might get rendered useless in the process. See here, even Miyamoto is guilty of that, and he talks about the upending the table situation, which is a fascinating resource, which again, check out smashjt.com for the full link of all this stuff. I'll go through it with that in that article there. But he goes into great length and great details explaining to Alyssa why she has absolutely no concept of how a game gets made, but yet she's trying to tell this guy why he's wrong. A few years back, we hired some folks that didn't really fit our culture, so we had to part ways with them. And then this article happened. Wasn't a great feeling to see some ex-Moon folks talk badly behind our backs, but ultimately it just made it clear that these folks shouldn't have worked at Moon in the first place, and I hope they're happier now wherever they landed. I don't know why you're out here cursing out game developers and what your whole deal is, but I hope that gave you some insight into the creative process and its messiness and beauty. I hope you have a nice day. Yours, Dickhead. Which is probably the best ending to a long note I have seen ever. Like, by titling himself what she tried to attack him with was the perfect full circle connection that Alyssa could not have a response to. Fully embracing her attacks and being like, okay, you're gonna call me this name and this is why you're pigeonholing me into this circumstance, and I'm just gonna own it and be like, okay, you think I'm that? Sure. Here's why you're completely wrong about everything and you're an embarrassment to the entire video game industry. The whole entire exchange highlights a very significant issue in the game industry: the gigantic gap between journalism and game development. Mercante's extremely rude approach didn't stand a chance against Mahler's calm, educated, and experienced explanation of how real game development actually works. This is why the activists posing as journalists need to move on to another career. They are hurting the entire video game industry by attacking the very devs that are making great games just to prop themselves up and get attention. Or in this case, starting with someone that was pretending that they worked in the industry and pretending that they had more experience in it, to use that as a platform to leap from and trying to get a higher position where they have no business even being there in the first place. And Mahler did a great job putting all of these people in their place. And if you haven't yet, check out Moon Studios and start favoriting some of these games and download them or purchase them, because you know what? This is the kind of developer that deserves the community's support. Someone that stands up for the gamers and, more importantly, the game themselves, the integrity of the game they're putting together, and not letting that get compromised by an outsider that has no idea what the hell's going on in the first place. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Again, the article has a lot more information, all the screenshots that I could find before everyone started privating their accounts and taking this stuff offline, because a lot of the stuff came down. I saw it happening in real time today. I'm like, oh man, this is a situation. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what I'm doing, please consider hitting that join button. And as always, you stay smashing.
Smash it,